with some dolphins. We have 3 of them in particular, and today our marine mammal team, consisting of the lovely Leo, the lovely Sherry, and the lovely Christy, will be helping us out with today's journey of discovery. And, well, that's what we call our marine mammal trainers. However, what are the names that we give our dolphins? We do have 3 of them, as I mentioned, 2 females, 1 male. This is the lovely Helen. Not to be outdone, the lovely Hannah. These are names that were given to them. We've been given these names. And I always think I'm going to be the highest boy in the rock. And he is a lone male. Now, while we've given them the names, or we've given Spinnaker, Hannah, and Helen, they do actually have a species name, Legonorhynchus obliquidans, but what is the common name? And in terms of dolphins, it's usually bottlenose that people think of automatically. And, well, there's over 45 different kinds of dolphins and porpoises that look very similar in the oceans of the world. Well, there's a dozen of them that we found right here off our coast, and that's where you'll find these. And it's, of course, their unique coloration that gives them their names. They're known as Pacific white-sided dolphins. Not too hard to see why they have white sides. In terms of the Pacific range, they're found all the way. Do you have any California residents here? These guys are your neighbors, at least Northern California, up to our part of the world, British Columbia, all the way over to Japan. And while yes, they're known for their range, Pacific, and their colors, they're also very acrobatic species of dolphins, which is, yeah, fascinating and very charismatic to watch. Now, it wasn't too long ago that, yes, if you wanted to work with this animal, you'd have to get into a boat out into the middle of the open ocean, because they were an open water species of dolphin. The ocean is, of course, a very large body of water. It's tough to find anything in there, let alone, well, open water species. However, for some reason, in the early 80s, they came in closer, and since that time, people have been getting to know them, much as a lot of you folks are here, with cameras, recording who's who, how does this fit in, where do they fit into the pod. And believe it or not, as long as you get a key shot of one part of the dolphin, you can actually identify it. You'd be very lucky to get almost full-body shots of 3 dolphins in a row. Not terribly unusual, because as I mentioned, they are acrobatic. However, as long as you can get the dorsal, they are as unique as our own fingertips. And of course, well, you can tell the dolphin. You get a high-res photo. Even here, a low-res photo will do. Spinnaker. Where's Spinnaker here? You'll notice if you compare the dorsals of our dolphins, Spinnaker right in the middle, his dorsal is mostly gray throughout, as opposed to the 2 ladies on either side. They're kind of half and half. Even the 2 ladies, Hannah and Helen, Hannah's dorsal is very triangular. Helen's is much more hooked towards the back. So loosely, roughly, yeah, even these guys, you can tell them apart pretty quickly just by looking at the dorsals. So, now that we know who we're looking at and what we're dealing with, let's do some research. In particular, let's look at the role these animals play in the ocean's food chain or food web. Where do they fit in? What do they eat? And what, if anything, eats them? Let's start off with a happier, what do they eat? You'll notice the trainers working with them as they feed them and they open the mouths of the dolphins. Inside, they've got 100 to 120 conical-shaped teeth. Very good at grabbing onto the small silver capelin, small silver herring, the occasional hint of pink calamari or squid. They're very good at grabbing onto these small prey items and swallowing. They don't, like we do, have the applesauce makers or the crushers or molars in the back of their throats. Not because they don't eat apples, but because, well, they're pretty much a bite and swallow animal. But they do eat big fish, big salmon, big halibut. How? Let's ask them, because they are the experts. Dolphins. Do you prefer your halibut, as a lot of people do, in fish and chip form? No, they do not. And of course, they're not answering our questions. They show what they do with big fish. They grab onto them, they shake your head around back and forth, and they break that big fish into smaller, more bite-sized chunks. Now, speaking of bite-sized chunks, believe it or not, yes, there are animals that would like to do the same to a dolphin. Any ideas on what one of those animals might be? Large, black and white. Zebra. No! Transient killer whale. If you're a dolphin, you don't play with transients because they eat marine mammals, and, well, you're a marine mammal yourself. Fortunately, they do have some natural coloration to avoid this from actually happening. It's known as counter shading. They're light on the belly, a little bit darker on the backside, and you can imagine if you're a predator such as a killer whale, well, you may not actually see them if they're over top, because the bellies might be blending in. Or if you're up top looking down, well, the dark side of the dolphin may blend in with the bottom. However, killer whales don't just use their sight. As we've seen some pretty impressive acrobatics, they can hear as well. And If you're hurt by a killer whale as a dolphin, probably best to get out of the area. Spinnaker at the moment is going 35 kilometers an hour. That's if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, speed limit inside Stanley Park is 30. So potentially these animals could get speeding tickets if they were driving, but they're swimming, so it doesn't make sense. Also very acrobatic, they'll use everything they got to get out of the area. Other than orcas or killer whales, we also have 12, 13 different species of shark. No, not the dreaded circular shark, but we do have great whites off our coast that have been sighted. Again, if you're a dolphin, you don't really play with them. You use the front end of the nose, the rostrum, which is hard as a baseball bat. These animals are known to use their rostrum to ram into the side of sharks. Killer whales, they're actually a dolphin species. They use their rostrum as well to ram into the sides of things if they want to slow down. If that doesn't work, well, the other end of the dolphin is also a powerful weapon, or a tool, if you will, the tail. They can use their tail to, well, dissuade pretty much anything. Smack, smack, smack. Take that, you nasty shark. Usually makes the shark think twice about having dolphin for dinner. Usually. These animals, yes, they are pretty good at avoiding being eaten by sharks. Pretty good at avoiding killer whales as well. However, there is a third animal, which they're not always so good at getting away from. And if you look around, we're looking for teammates here, Third animal, of course, is actually people. And yes, while all of us are surrounded by people, at one point in time, these animals as well weren't surrounded so much by people, but by things that people left behind. Marine debris. All of our dolphins here were actually wrapped and tangled in fishing net, fishing line that were just up floating in the ocean off the coast of Japan. Hannah and Spinnaker on either side. They have scarring up and down their bodies as a result of their injuries. You can see it underwater if you go and watch them. Probably the most obvious one is Helen. She had to have parts of her pectoral fins partially removed as a result of her injuries. It's very sad, very unfortunate, and I noticed a lot of long faces here, and rightly so. Fortunately, they were rescued, they were rehabilitated. However, somewhat unfortunately, they were deemed non-releasable. And that's both as a result of their injuries and a reflection of the amount of time they spent with people. Spend too much time with people, you get to realize, oh, that'll get me food, and then you become a danger to yourself and the boats. So that's why they're here with us. Help us get to know our neighbors and ultimately how our garbage, once it leaves our hands, yeah, if it's not in the right place, yeah, it can do a lot of damage out in the ocean, and especially to our neighbors. So we would like our neighbors around for years to come, so it's a good idea for all of us just to make sure our garbage ends up where it's supposed to. I got really serious towards the end. Sorry about that. We should probably end on a high note here. Helping us out in our journey of discovery, getting to know our remarkable neighbors off our coast, Spinnaker, the lovely Hannah and Helen. On behalf of the trainers, myself, and of course our Pacific White-Sided Dolphins, thanks so much for joining us. You've been a wonderful audience. However, this is, as I believe they say, the tail end of our show. And you can do that at home. You're not talking to people. Tail end, we're done here. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon here at the aquarium.
Thank you.